Hello, welcome to my first ever Affinity Designer workshop. Usually when I do workshops like this, I use Procreate to demonstrate the project, but for this session, I know there are some of you who are Affinity users and you want to learn my process on Affinity Designer, so this workshop is especially for you. We're going to do everything in Affinity Designer, the desktop version or the laptop version of Affinity Designer, because I'm more comfortable using a mouse when I create rather than creating with an Apple Pencil on the iPad when I use Affinity, because we're dealing with vectors for Designer. And it's easier for me to use the mouse and keyboard to move things around, select certain nodes, and type in certain sizes or positions for vector design. If you're a beginner with Affinity Designer, or if you haven't used Affinity Designer before, don't worry if you don't know or if you're not familiar with this design software yet, because for this workshop, I am going to explain the different parts of this software. And I'm also going to explain the tools, where you could find the tools, certain panels, everything that we're going to use for this project. I'll be explaining them as we go. I hope you're excited. And this is the project that we are going to do. It is a vibrant, fun, bright lettering design. We are going to start with vector drawing. So I'm going to show you how to bring out the grid and how to use shapes and curves to draw the letters. And we'll also be using the joining operations such as add and subtract. If these are new to you, don't worry, because I'll be explaining these later on. And for this part, we'll also be using layers and colors. After we're done with the vector part of drawing the letter designs, we're going to move to the pixel persona. So the unique thing about Affinity Designer is that you have both vector design and pixel or raster design functions in this one software. And for the vector part, we're going to be using the design persona or the designer persona. And for the decorating design part, we are going to use the pixel persona. So as you can see from our sample image or sample artwork, you have different patterns and different doodles. All these are going to be done in the pixel persona. Here is where we're also going to be using our brushes. So I will be using my Ultimate Lettering Toolbox, Retro, and Vintage packs. Both of these have Affinity versions of the brushes. So if you don't have these packs, it is totally okay. As you can see, these are basic patterns. You may have other patterns or other Affinity brushes that have these, so you can use those. But if you don't have any Affinity Designer brushes, you can always draw them manually. But if you have the pack that I'm going to use, these are just going to be stamps, which makes the whole process easier. So let's begin. Let's begin by creating a new document. Go to File here on the upper left column. Click on New. Let's create a 2048 by 2048 pixel canvas. So let's change the document units right here to pixels and change this to 2048 by 2048. I'm clicking the tab key just to switch from these text box. Okay, so you already have the size that we want. And let's click on margins because I don't like this blue box right here. So we're going to select margins tab and uncheck margins. Then let's click on the create button. Okay, now we have a new canvas. So the first thing, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to draw the lettering in vector. So Affinity has three formats or three personas. You have the designer persona, which is what we're going to use for the vector drawing. And then here, right beside it, it is a pixel persona. So if you want to switch to the pixel persona, you just click on this one. And as you can see, the tools and everything's going to change because in this persona, it is all going to be raster drawing. And then we also have the export persona. So this is for exporting. So here you could choose the presets on which format you want to export your artwork in and the different presets or quality. So these are the three personas. Let's switch back to the first one, which is the designer persona. So we are going to be drawing this design right here. So we're going to do the words rise, R-I-S-N-E. Okay, so let's switch back to our canvas. And then since we are going to draw these in vector, it's helpful to have a grid. So what you can do is you can go to view and click on show grid right here. So you now have a grid to work on. So I'm zooming it in. So I'm just holding control on my keyboard and using my mouse scroll to zoom in and zoom out. Okay. The good thing about vector graphics is that you can draw it really, really small and then enlarge it without losing any pixels. So that's what we're going to do today. So if you zoom out, the grid is going to be too small. If you zoom in, it's going to be bigger like this. Okay, so we're going to draw the letter R first. So let us click on the ellipse tool. This is the circle tool right here on the left. Click on that. And then let's just draw a circle or a pair of circles. So as you can see, if you move your mouse pointer, it's going to snap on the grid, right? If you see this, so it snaps on the grid like that. So if this isn't working on your screen, you need to turn on snapping. So you could find snapping here on the toolbar right here. So if the magnet isn't selected like this, just click on it so that it's going to snap to the grid and make it easier for us to draw our circle. So let us draw our circle. We want a perfect circle, so hold down Shift and just move it until you draw your first circle like this. Okay. And then we want an inner circle. So here, what I'm using is 300 by 300 pixels. So you could see that here under the transform panel. If you don't have this transform panel and you want to see it, just click on Windows right here and select transform. Okay, and you're going to have this panel. So for this panel, you could move it. You could move it around like this by just dragging it. Okay, so the arrangement of these panels won't be the same. I just arrange it this way because it's more comfortable for my personal workflow. But it's up to you where you want to put this transform panel. So if we select this circle, we have it right here. As you can see, it's 300 by 300 pixels. Right now, the color is gray. Let's change that. So we're going to select color panel. If you don't have this color panel, same thing. Go to Windows and click on color to show this color panel. So here in the colors panel, you have these two circles. So this ring right here, the black ring, is the outline stroke, the color of the outline, which is set to black. And this right here, this is the fill color. So it's light gray. So if you want to change the color to black, make sure you select the set fill one and just drag this to black like that. Since we don't want any outlines, let us select this stroke right here. Make sure it is highlighted and then click on this icon right here and it's gonna turn it white or no stroke. Okay, this is our first circle. Now let's go to our layers. So open the layers panel. If it's not yet out, click Windows and click on layers. You'll find this layers panel. Since we created our first circle, we now have our first ellipse right here. So let's bring the opacity down a bit because we want to create a ring, okay, to about 50%. And then we're going to copy, right click copy and right click paste right here. Okay. And then we're going to make a smaller one in the middle or in the center. So I'm going to drag the upper left anchor point right here, but make sure you hold down Control and Shift so that it's going to lock to the center. And then we can adjust the size by just dragging it like this. Okay. So I'm going to give it 60 pixels like this. So now you should have two circles like this, and this. Okay. So if you notice for the letter R, it's like a donut hole right here, correct? So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract the small circle from the big circle. So what we're going to do is make sure the smaller circle is on top, and then we're going to select the larger circle, and then we're going to click subtract there. So we're going to subtract the first shape from the second shape. Now we have this hole right here. Okay. So if you notice here, for the letter R, we need a semicircle or like a half donut shape. So what we're going to do is zoom in a bit. We're going to use rectangular tool or rectangle tool. And then we're going to draw a rectangle right in the middle. Okay. So if you just hold your mouse pointer, the red line is going to appear. So it's automatically going to snap to the center of this donut shape right there. Okay, once we're done with that, we're going to use this to cut this into half, right? So same thing, we're going to subtract this. So we select our rectangle, hold shift when we select our donut shape, and then here on the upper right column or upper right section, we're going to hit subtract there. We now have our first semicircle shape. Okay. Next is, let's bring back the opacity to 100 because we are happy with this shape. So you can zoom out a bit and see the first part of your letter R. Okay, so next is we want to draw the vertical part right here. Okay, so that's very simple. Simply choose rectangle tool right here and make sure it snaps to the corner there, and then just drag it while clicking it, and then it snaps to the grid right here. So you have, so you have it perfectly here. Okay, so I'm zooming in and zooming out. To do that, hold Control and use the scroll of your mouse to zoom in and out. And if you want to move around the page, hold spacebar and then just drag it like that. So that's what I'm doing, zooming out and moving the screen like that. Okay, perfect. Next, we are going to draw this part right here. So this is a 1/4 donut, right? A quarter of a donut. So to do that, let's duplicate this. To duplicate, you could right click and there's no duplicate here. You could copy paste, or the shortcut for that is Control J. If you hit Control J, as you can see, it created a new layer. So we're going to drag this. Make sure it snaps to the grid, okay, like that. So this is at the center, right? So we're going to draw our rectangle or a box covering half of it like that. And then we're going to subtract these two again. So hold shift and click the object and click subtract. There you have it. But the problem is it's supposed to go a different direction, right? So what we're going to do is you can rotate by pulling this, the anchor point that's extended right here. You can move it like that. And if you want to lock it, hold shift to lock it as you drag it like that. Okay. But if you want another way to rotate, just click on rotate counterclockwise or rotate clockwise right here at the upper portion until you get the one that you want. Okay. So now let's just move this down maybe about here. Okay, like that. Then this part needs a vertical block, right? So select this one. Okay, don't just move it. You need to duplicate this, Control J, and move it here. Okay, so as you can see, this is not aligned. So let's just move this here just to align it. And let's reduce the size right here. Perfect. So let's move it around for this one. Let's bring this down because we need our letter R to be taller. Okay, let's just check this one. Okay. And this one needs a horizontal bar right here. So let's just select any vertical bar. So we're going to duplicate that. But before we duplicate, or another shortcut for duplicate is to hold Alt and then drag it there. So if you hold Alt and drag the piece, it's going to duplicate that. And then let's flip this. So rotate counterclockwise and then move it to touch this section right here. Perfect. And then you could just resize this to wherever you want it to be. Perfect. And for the R, okay, we need to add something here at the bottom. So let's select this curve right here, duplicate this or hold Alt like this. And then we're going to rotate it like that. And then let's move it here, wherein it aligns to the edge. It aligns to the horizontal bar right there. And then zoom out. Let's duplicate this, holding Alt and Shift. So it's going to lock to the direction. And then just move this here and then like this. There you have it. You now have the letter R. Okay. Next letter is the letter I. This is quite easy to do. So just select any vertical bar, duplicate that, and move it to the side like this, and then bring it up a bit like that. Okay. So with the letter I, we just need to do a little bit of optical adjustment. Since this is curved and this is flat, even if they're on the same height right here, the R looks smaller, right? That's because the top of the R is curved. So to adjust that, zoom it in here. Let's just bring this down a little bit, make it smaller right there. So now it looks more or less the same height, even if it's much shorter. So I just move it here and I'm going to hit undo to bring it back. Okay, there. So next is the letter S, right? Okay, so for the letter S, we're going to start with this circle or top right here, or half a donut. So let's duplicate this, hold Alt to move it or duplicate it to the side. And then let's just make sure they're on the same height and move it to the side a bit like this. Let's bring this down or duplicate this down. And then we're going to rotate this 180 degrees because S has a curved top and a curved bottom right here. So next is we're going to need the quarter donut. So let's just select from the letter R and duplicate this somewhere here and bring it somewhere here. Oops. Make sure it is aligned like this. Bring it up a little bit, maybe here. And then duplicate this, hold Alt as you drag it, and then rotate. I'm holding Shift so that it's going to lock to the correct angle, and then connect them both right here. Perfect. Okay. And then we need to add the vertical blocks right here. So let's just get this, duplicate this, and make this shorter first, like that. Zoom it in here, and let's make sure you snap it correctly, and bring this there, like that. Perfect. Let's also bring it to the other side. So drag this and move it here. Perfect. And then this one, let's duplicate this to close this bottom part right here. So just drag it, make sure it snaps to where you want it to be, like that. And then let's duplicate this to bring it to the other side. And then we are done with our letter S. Simple as that. So since this is curved, so we need to optically adjust this, right? Because these are flat. So what we can do is select this one, zoom it in closer, and then just move it like one block up. Do it for this one as well. And this one. Perfect. And then for the last letter, the letter E, so we're going to select this top part right here, duplicate that, and move it to the side. Make sure they have the same height right there. And for the E as well, we're going to duplicate this, rotate it 180 degrees, oops, and align it here to the base. Okay. So as you can see, like you have these guys that are snapping or helping you snap it to the grid. That's with the help of the snapping tool right here. Okay, next is the E. So you need a vertical bar right here. So I'm going to get this and snap it here like that. And we need the 1/4 or a quarter donut. So let's grab here from the R, this top one, and select the horizontal bar as well. Duplicate that. I'm holding out to drag it here and then snap it where I want it to be. Perfect. And then this one, duplicate this and snap it to this side right here and drag this all the way down to close that. And then let's duplicate this and bring this down like that. Okay, here we have our rice lettering. So for this one, I think I made it a bit taller. So for this style, it is very easy to adjust. So let me just select all the top parts. Okay, so I'm just dragging all top parts. But since the letter I isn't selected, I'll just hold Shift and select this. And then let's just move this up a little bit, maybe about here. Okay. And then let's just fill the space. So for this one, this rectangular bar, let's just drag it up like this. This one, drag it down. The I, drag it here. For the S, let's select these curves and move it up a little bit, maybe about here or here. Then let's just select these two and bring them down like that. Select these two, up like that. Okay, perfect. So for this bar, let's bring it down, and this one, let's bring it up. There, easy, right? So it's so easy to like increase the size of your lettering. Okay, so let's select this and group them. So select them all, right click, group, or shortcut is Control G. Okay, like that. And let's bring this to the center. Okay, to bring this to the center, since it's all in one group, you could simply select this, align center, and align center there. Now that we're done with the lettering, we don't need the grid anymore. So let's hide the grid so that it's not too distracting. Click on View and then Show Grid there. Perfect. If you want to adjust the spacing a bit, I kind of want to increase the spacing a little bit. So select this and ungroup that first, okay? And then select the R. I'm just going to drag everything from the R, and I'm going to hold Shift and use the arrow keys to move them. Now I'm going to move the I and R to the left like that, and S as well. there. I think the spacing is much better. Now let's select this and then bring them to the center like that. Okay, so we are done drawing our lettering, our vector letters. So as you can see, we just used circles or rings, and then we just cut them into half or quarter, and then we use these parts to build our letters along with blocks, like rectangular blocks. Easy, right? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to section our lettering. As you can see from this, you can see we are sectioning the parts, and then we are giving them different colors and different designs. So that's what we're going to do next. So right now, all you see is black, right? If you select them, you'll see the outlines, but you want the outlines to be clearer. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our letters or give our letters a white fill color and a black outline. To do that, make sure you select every single section, and then under color, we are going to change the outline color. So make sure you select this ring right here, select that, and change it to black. So drag it to black there. And then you want the fill to be white. So select this circle so that it's going to be highlighted, or it's going to be the primary feature that we're going to edit. And then drag to white right here. So you should have something like this. And if you want to make the stroke thicker, select them and go to the stroke panel right here. If you don't have that shown, just go to Windows and select stroke. This panel should show up. So again, we're going to select everything like this. And then for this one, let's type maybe 2 pixels right here so that it's going to be easier for us to see. We now have the letters in sections, which is how we built them, right? So like the R, we start with a semicircle on top and rectangular bars like this and quarter of a circle like that. Okay, now let us see if we want our sections to be like this. So if we want to recreate our project exactly, let's take a look at it. Okay, so zoom out. So R, you have this half circle right here. And then for the stem, the left stem is divided into 2 parts, right? You have this part right here with pink and purple. And then you have these smaller rectangles in gradient. So let's make sure we have this semicircle and 2 sections right here. So here, the semicircle is here. But for this one, it's just one piece, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to duplicate this. So Control J, you can see here, we now have 2 of that shape, okay? So for the first one, select the first layer and drag it maybe here, if you want to end here. And then the second one, drag it all the way down right here. Perfect. So now it's in 2 sections. But for this part right here, if you can see, it is gradient, right? So what we're going to do is, let's just bring this maybe down right here. And then let us duplicate this. I'm holding Alt right here. And then make sure you snap them like this. So make sure they're aligned like that. Select these 2, duplicate, make sure you align it here. So snap, make sure it snaps. Let's do one more. We're going to align it to this block right here. So let's just drag this right there. Okay. Then we're going to select all of these and bring it up right here. Make sure it snaps. Okay. So there you have it. Now for the R, we have this small block right here, and this entire curve is in one shape. right? So for this one, we're going to duplicate this as well. So if you select the shape on your canvas, it's going to highlight here on the layers panel. So this layer right here is for this block. I know you have like a lot of layers right now, but it's okay because if you click on the layer, it's going to highlight it for you. So for this one, let's duplicate this. You can right click that to duplicate. Same thing. Let's bring this smaller right here. And for this one, the bottom layer, bring this up to here. Make sure they snap together. Okay. So for this one, if you remember the curve, it curves all the way down like that. So let's select this shape, select this curve right here, and select this horizontal bar. So you have this right here. Let me just undo that. Okay. And then we're going to add them together so that it becomes one shape without those lines right there. Select add right there. Okay. It looks like this right now because it's just the layer is below everything. So let's just drag it all the way up until it shows like this. Perfect, right? And now let's combine these two because according to the image, this image right here, they're both connected. So select this, and then we are going to add them right here. So add is right beside subtract earlier. Okay, there. So we now have the sections for the letter R. Next is the letter I. So for the letter I, we have two sections. So this is very easy. Just click on it and then find it on the layers panel, right click and duplicate. And then the duplicate is already highlighted. Just move it halfway, maybe like this. And the back layer, just snap it like that. Perfect. Now we have the letter S. Okay. So for these sections, it's up to you how you want to section or how you want to group or split the parts of the letter. So if you have a different way, feel free to do that. Be as creative as you want. So for the letter S, as you can see, the top part is split into half, and this yellow thing is one entire section. So let's do that. So for this one, we need to split this into two, right? So first, you have to duplicate that, right click, duplicate. Okay. And then we're going to draw a rectangle like this. Make sure it snaps to the center. As you can see, it snaps to the center. The green line is going to snap it. Okay. If it's snapped to the center, make sure you cover everything. And then hold shift to select both objects, the rectangle and the semicircle, and click subtract there. Okay. And then this one is still full, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to select this one and duplicate that, and we're going to subtract that to the half donut. So this layer is already selected, right? This layer, and hold shift to select the semicircle, the backside, and click subtract. So now you have this shape and this shape. Undo to move them back into place. Okay. And then these two has to be connected if you want to recreate what I did exactly. So select these two and click add. Oops. So if you click add and they didn't combine together, you click on undo. And if you zoom in, you'll see that they're not connected right there. So it wasn't snapped properly. Okay. So as you can see, there's a gap right here if you zoom it in. Unlike here, if you zoom it in, there's no gap. Okay. So that's the some mistakes that you may do that could cause the functions not working. So in order to fix this, just select on the bottom layer and then just move it up right there. So as you can see, did you see the red line? So that's the function that snaps. So what you can do is select them both. As you can see, now there's a clean solid line. And then zoom out again, move it, and click add. There you go. Now it combined into one piece. Okay, let's go back here. So this is connected here. This is just 1/4. And now you have the entire thing connected right here, the dark blue piece, and the pink piece is just 1/4 circle. So select this and this, add as we want, and then this one is separate. Let's check our reference again. So this is separate, separate, and separate. Separate, separate, and separate. Perfect. So I think our S is done in terms of sectioning our letter S. Next is the letter E. So for the E, the whole top part is one piece. And then you have a block right here. And this curve right here, the sky blue, is connected. So you have one block. This is separate. And then these are connected. So select these two by holding Shift to select both shapes. And then click Add to join them together. Oh, as you can see, this part disappeared. But don't worry, it's just because of the layers. This part right here, the one we just joined, is behind this long bar right here. That's why it disappeared. To fix that, just drag that layer all the way up until it shows there. Perfect. Let's go back to our guide. So for the E, as you can see, there are two parts, right? The checkered here is halfway, and then this one is connected to 1/4 of the curve. So for this one, we need to split this into two, right? So we can duplicate this, that, and move it maybe up to here. And then for the original one, let's make it smaller and make sure they snap together like that. But this one is connected here and this one is connected, right? So for this one, we just need to split this into two. So we're gonna duplicate this first. Make sure you duplicate that bottom part. Okay, make sure you selected the right one. Right click and duplicate. And then we're gonna draw a box. So a rectangle box. Make sure it snaps to the center like this, the green line, and it covers the entire thing. And then we're gonna select both and click on subtract. Okay. So this one is already 1/4. This one is still 1/2. So let's just subtract this from this, right? So let's just click this and duplicate this part and hold Shift to select the back part and click subtract. There you go. This part is separate from this part now. And the last thing we need to do is join these two together. So select them both, click add, select this and select this, click add. Okay, it didn't add, right? So let's zoom it back in. As you can see, there is a gap. So what you do is you need to undo adding it first because you still join them into one layer, even if they're two different parts. So make sure you hit undo and do the add. And then select this part and bring it down until it snaps. The red line shows it snaps. If you select the two sections, you can see it's now one line and click on add. Perfect. Right there. Okay, we're done sectioning the parts of our letters. So now let's color this. So to make coloring easier, I'll just take a screenshot of this here, like that. Maybe make this smaller because I just need to use this as my coloring guide. So, okay, I'm going to show you how to crop this. So what you do is just create a rectangle just for the letter like that. Okay. So this is the rectangle layer and this is the image layer. Okay. So what we're going to do, so we have these two, right? So we're going to drag the icon of the rectangle towards the image and it's going to mask it just like that. Okay, so now we can make it slightly bigger. like that. Okay. This will help us pick the colors. Okay. So the top part of the R, let's change it to yellow, this yellow right here. So we're going to select colors. Make sure the fill is selected, not the stroke. Okay. The fill is selected, and then choose a yellow that looks like that. So let's drag this to maybe here. And yellow is about here. Perfect. Next, for this one, we're going to select pink. Okay. So let's select pink. Yeah, I think this is the good color. For this one, it's blue, right? So select blue and just drag until we get the shade that we want. And this curve right here is cyan. So maybe here, but it's a bit brighter. So maybe here. And for this one, it's yellow. No, it's pink. Like that. Okay, perfect. And for this one, it's blue, right? It starts from dark to light. So let's zoom it in here. So for this one, actually, let's select all of these and turn them into a dark blue color like this. And then let's select this one and make it slightly lighter. There. Select this one, slightly lighter. This one is going to be lighter. Lighter. Okay. This doesn't have to be perfect, but try to adjust it there. Just a little bit of gradient effect like that. Next is the letter I. So it's going to be orange. So let's look for orange. And I think this orange looks good. And this one is going to be purple. Like that. And this one is going to be blue. So we could just color pick. So to color pick, what you could do is, do you see this eyedropper icon? Just drag it all the way to this blue. And then click on this blue icon right there. There. This one is a dark blue color. So let's get a dark blue color right here. So for this one, feel free to choose whatever color you want, okay? If you want a different set of colors, feel free to do that. If you have a better colorway or if you have your own colors that you want to do, feel free to do that. You don't need to follow what I'm doing. What I'm just showing you are the tools on how to adjust colors. And I'm just using this guide so that we won't need to spend so many time later in adjusting the colors. So for this one, it's going to be yellow. So we're going to drag this eyedropper tool to this yellow and select the color picker that we just picked like that. And this one is going to be pink. So let's get this color right here on the leg of the R. Color that. This is going to be yellow again. Yeah, is it yellow? Okay. Yellow again. Here. This one is going to be cyan. So let's color pick that and click that color. For this one, it's going to be purple. Oh, it's also purple. So if it's in the, undo that. Okay. So for this one, it's going to be purple. If it's one of the colors you just used, so it's going to be here on the side. So just click that one, purple. For the top part, it's pink. So just click pink right here. This one is purple. Just click purple. This one is dark blue. Just click dark blue. This one's cyan, click cyan. This one's blue. I don't think we have the blue here anymore, so let's just color pick which blue. I think this blue. There. This one is yellow, so still have the yellow here. Perfect. Okay. Let me just make this smaller, okay, so it's not too distracting. Okay, so we now have our lettering colored, okay. So next we're going to do is we're just going to remove the black outline for now. So select everything right here and click on the stroke, because right now fill is selected. Make sure stroke is selected and click this white circle with a red diagonal line to make the stroke transparent. So now it's just filled with colors like that. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to group each letter together. So select all of these, all the shapes of R, select them and hit Control G to group them into one layer. And let's rename this. So double click that, select R. Next is the I. Select these two shapes, Control G, and you can see on your layers panel, there's a new group. Double click that and select I. Let's just select all the shapes of S, Control G to group, double click to rename to S, and select all of these. And then Control G to group, double click that, and E. Okay. So I'm just gonna rearrange this, the layers. So bring I down, S down, and E down. R, I, S, oops. Tap undo. Okay. R, I, S, E. Perfect. Now let's add a black background color. So let's just use the rectangular tool. Make sure you snap your cursor to the upper left column and then drag it to the bottom right corner. And to change it to black, make sure you select the fill stroke and drag it to the darkest black. There. But now it's on the top. But now it's still on the topmost layer. So drag it all the way down right here. Okay. So I forgot to mention earlier, if you want to select or move, make sure you select the move tool, which is right here. I'm sorry, I'm used to using the keyboard as a shortcut. So I always use V, V, V. I just click on V for that shortcut. Okay. So move tool, select that, make sure it's at the bottom, and you want to lock it so that you won't keep on touching it. Okay. So to lock it, just click on this lock icon right here to lock that layer. So if you click it, it's not going to move, because if it's unlocked like that, if you drag it, it's going to move, which is kind of annoying. So let's bring it back and click lock right here. Perfect. So that is not going to move when you touch it. Okay. I think we are done with the vector part. So we are now in designer persona. Next thing we can do is decorate our lettering with a background texture and some shapes right there. So we are going to switch to the pixel persona. So here on the upper left, select pixel persona, and then it's going to change into a different interface, which is for pixel drawing. So you may not have this. This is the brush panel. So if you want to show that, you just go to Windows and click brushes to hide or to show that panel. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we'll be using my retro pack and my vintage pack of the Ultimate Lettering Toolbox. So you have it here. So if you have these pack, to import these brushes, just go to the folder where you saved the files. And then you could either double click that or just drag it to your Affinity Designer, and then it's going to import them to the software. And if you select this part right here, you should have it here already. ULT Retro Lettering or ULT Vintage Lettering. Okay. So to make this easier, let me just hide all of these first, okay? Just show one letter at a time. So zoom in here. So the first one, we're going to add dots, okay? So if you don't have this path, don't feel like you can't create this project, feel free to just draw them manually. So to do that, to draw them manually or to use these stamps, what you can do is, or what you have to do is, you need to create a new layer first, okay? So for example, for the letter R right here, let's just open up the layers and find this top right here, the yellow one. Okay, we want to create a layer on top of it, right? For the dots. So make sure it is selected so that when you add a layer, so for this one, we're going to add a pixel layer, okay? It's not just add a normal layer. It has to be add a pixel layer because we are going to draw raster elements. So click on add pixel layer. So a new layer will be made or will be created on top of the curve layer, okay? And from here, let's draw our polka dots. So if you're familiar with Photoshop, we need to change to a tool for that, right? The brush tool. So the brush tool is, I don't know where the brush tool is, but I just click the letter B. Oh, here it is. It automatically goes to the brush tool. Okay, that's another keyboard shortcut that I adapted from Photoshop because for Photoshop it's also B. So I just tried it and it worked, and then I didn't bother looking for the icon for the brush. So we now have the brush selected and on the new pixel layer selected. So if you have any brush, if you don't have any, or if you don't have these brushes, just look for any brush that's circular. You could select pens and maybe select simple pen and then just draw whatever you want to draw. So since I haven't really drawn using the stylus, so I'm not really comfortable with using that, but if you have that, feel free to switch to your tablet, your stylus tablet, your drawing tablet, whatever it's called. I still don't know. I don't know what the right term for that is. Anyway, the drawing tablet, and you use that to make it easier for you to like draw certain objects. But yeah, you have a lot of like brushes to explore, and you can just draw the shapes manually since these are just basic shapes. So for the first one, let's go to retro lettering. Here you have small polka dots right here. Big polka dots, small polka dots. Yeah, I think small polka dots is fine. So as you can see, we have big right here. So let's just brush horizontally, maybe like this. Okay. And then let's go back to move tool. Like click this move tool or click V. Okay. And then we're going to resize this. Okay, maybe this one right here. And then let's just move this around. Oops, I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard to move this around until I get a nice position. Yeah, like this. Okay. So now you have this pattern right here, and then you want to mask it here, right, to this shape because you don't want it outside of your letters. You just want it here on the yellow part. So what we're going to do is select the curve because unlike Photoshop, if you're used to Photoshop, what you can do is you could just bring the drawing layer above the shape and then hit clipping mask, right? So that's what you could do for Photoshop. But for Affinity Designer, you need to duplicate whatever shape it is. So it's this one right here. So duplicate that and then drag that icon to the raster layer or the pixel layer. That's how you clip your designs on Affinity Designer. Okay, so we'll do that again for the other shapes, so don't worry. Okay, so for the next one, this one is like noise, like what do you call this? Some dust right there. So let's click select this shape right here. So it's this one. So let's create a new pixel layer on top. Just like that. So a new pixel layer is created. Okay. So for this one, I think I used, which brush was it? Oh, is it? I think it's in the vintage lettering brush. Okay, medium grain brush. I think this is it. So make sure brush tool is selected there. Then I'm just going to like brush this like this. Oops, let me do that again. It's not light, it's not heavy grain. Okay, medium grain. So I'm just gonna brush this horizontally until I get like a really nice noise gradient. Let me zoom this out a bit. So you want the top part to have very few noise or dust, and then at the bottom it's going to be more concentrated like this. So let's just paint something like this. There. I think I'm happy with this. And then we don't need to get the entire thing, right? We just want a section. So let's select the rectangular marquee tool right here and select maybe just about this portion. Okay. And then select invert pixel selection and hit delete to clean everything, and then deselect Control D. We now have this one, so let us now resize this. Make this smaller. I think this size looks perfect. There. But if you remember, it's supposed to be in purple, right? Purple and pink. Okay. I think we need to rotate this because the bottom part is pink and the top part is the purple part. Here. Okay. So let's mask this first before we recolor this. So we're going to select this pink block right here, right click, duplicate, and then drag that on top of the pixel layer like that to mask it. Perfect. Now it's white. So let's recolor this by selecting the layer and then click layer here in the menu bar and layer effects right at the bottom. We're going to add a color overlay. So check color overlay, select it so that we could adjust the color to purple. Maybe this purple. Perfect. Then close and we're done. Okay. So for this one, there's not really any effect right there. For this one, it's a thin diagonal line. So let's select this shape right here. You can just double click that because if you click that, it's in a group. So you're going to select the entire group. But if you want a shortcut to just select the shape, just double click that. And even if it's in a group, it's going to select that object and then create or add a pixel layer. Okay. So if you don't want to recolor like this, you could select the color right away. So I think this one's pink, right? So we selected pink right here and go to our brushes. And I think it's in retro, in the retro pack. Yes. Retro lettering pack. You have the diagonal. Okay, this thin diagonal strip right there. Okay, so for this one, it needs to be on the foreground, not the background. So we're going to select this because I colored the foreground. So this, and then select or stamp it there like that. And then go back to the move tool so that we can make this smaller. I think this size is perfect. Now let's mask this. So select the block or the shape that we want it to mask, duplicate that, and then drag the icon over the pixel layer. Perfect, like that. For this one, I think this is like a gradient drawing, right? So let's select this, double click that, so that we're going to select the right layer and add the pixel layer on top. Okay. This one is, I think, diamond halftone. So right now, even if you selected this, it's not going to brush anything because you need to select the paintbrush tool. There you go. Okay, and this is supposed to be white, so select white, and then just draw. Is it something like this? I think it's something like this. Going back to the move tool and just position this the way I want it to. I think this looks nice. So let's mask this, select that shape, duplicate, and then drag it on top of the pixel layer like that. Perfect. For the last part, it's the dust again. So for this one, you don't really need to do the dust again. You could just duplicate that. So look for this pixel layer. You can copy this and then double click on this leg part and paste it here. So that is going to be on top. But as you can see, nothing happened because when you paste on Affinity Designer, it pastes on the same position, which is here. So let's move it down. So select Move Tool, move it down. We need to remove the mask first. Okay, so right click the mask, the white box right here, and hit delete. There you go. So for this one, it's going to be yellow at the bottom, pink on top. So let's rotate this 180 degrees. Move it, I think, here. And then change it to yellow, right? So to edit the color overlay, you can click this icon right here, the FX icon, or go to Layer and Layer Effect. Click Overlay, and then choose yellow, a bright yellow like this. Close, okay. And then let's mask this. So select that leg, duplicate, drag to mask. Perfect. Yeah, and we are done with the letter R. Select this. Oh, it's already grouped, so yeah, we're done with that. So let's just hide that and show the next letter. Oh, let's not hide this because we're gonna get some elements from here. Okay, so for the letter I, it's pink to orange. Okay, so let's grab the dust again. So you can just double click that until you get it. So it's selected now. So we're gonna copy this and paste it here. So double click this. So we select the orange one and then right click to paste and delete the mask. So we have here, the color again is pink to orange. So let's rotate this, bring it here and mask it. Oh, but before we mask, you could just change it to pink now, like that. And to mask it, right click the orange block right here, duplicate, and drag the icon to the pixel layer there. And here we added 3 sparkles. So make sure we select this layer right here and add a pixel layer. And then we're gonna draw or stamp these sparkles. So we've selected it and turn on brush tool. You can increase the size. So here on the width, you can drag this to increase the size a bit. Okay, and do that. Or bracket up, the keyboard shortcut for increasing the size. Okay, so I think the size is okay. So I'll just, yeah, draw on a vertical line. So when I drew, I hold the shift key, so it's gonna draw on a straight path. And then since I only need 3 sparkles, so I'll just select everything. Oh, select these and delete. Select these and delete. Deselect, Control D, or go there. And then on the move tool, I'll just move it to the center. I feel like it's too big, so I'm gonna make this smaller. Hit here. And to center elements, like this one, you want to center it there. So select this pixel layer and the orange block layer. Okay, make sure those 2 elements are selected, only those 2 elements. And then here you have align center buttons right here. Perfect. There. Now for this one. So we have purple, bigger polka dots, and yeah, so lighter polka dots are the circles, and the darker purple is going to be the background. So for this one, make sure you select the purple, and I think the background is supposed to be darker. So let me just bring this down a bit, and then let's create a pixel layer right here. Okay. And then you can either draw your polka dot pattern or use this thick polka dots brush right here. Let's just brush vertically like that. And then using the move tool, let's resize this and position it where we want it to go. And maybe here, like this. I think it looks nice. Let's mask it now. So select the rectangle purple block, duplicate that, and drag the icon towards the pixel layer right there. So as you can see, what we're doing is quite repetitive. We're just applying the same methods or same techniques to different sketches and different shapes. I want you to practice this. Even if it's very repetitive, it's going to help you familiarize yourself with the functions of Affinity Designer. Okay. Next is we want to color it light purple. So if you forgot to change the brush color, it's fine because you could always add a layer effect of color overlay. Check that and change this to a darker purple. Like that. Perfect. Oh, it's supposed to be lighter purple, not a darker one. So make sure you select that again and click on this FX to edit the color overlay again. I forgot. It's supposed to be lighter, so maybe about here. Perfect. But again, it's up to you how you want to color this and what kind of design you want to give each section. So we're done with letter I. Let's close that up. And the R as well. Okay, here are the layers. So now we go to the letter S. Okay, so for the letter S, you have the dust here and here, right? So let's double click until we select the dust layer, which is this one. Copy. And then double click this until you get the layer, which is this one right here. And paste. And then delete the mask. So for this one, like mint is from the left, sorry, from the right, I'm sorry. Make sure you use move tool so you can rotate this 90 degrees. I'm holding my shift down so that it's going to lock. And I'm going to position it there. Okay. So I'm also going to add one here since I'm already using the, what do you call this? The dust. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, and then select this portion right here. Control V. So it's going to add a layer on top of the yellow box. So I'm just going to bring this because you have pink, you have pink to yellow and mint to blue. Pink to yellow and mint to blue here. So for this one, pink, but let's change this to a darker color. So I click the layer effect and I'm adjusting it just a little bit there. This one has to be teal, right? So when you select that, select this FX, toggle layer effects, color overlay, and then choose the mint color. It's green, but less saturated and lighter. Maybe this one, but move it towards the blue a bit more. Okay, so you can feel free to adjust the colors until you get what you want. Perfect. Since E also has those effects like this one and this one, let me just bring out the letter E. So here on the layers panel, bring out the layer E, and okay, I'm gonna select this one, the pixel, copy that, Control C, or copy that here, and paste it here. So blue to pink. So select this one, double click that. Oops, yeah, so it's this layer, right? Control V, so it's going to paste on top of that layer. So it's blue to pink. Did I say pink? So I'm just going to move it down here. Change the color to reddish pink. Like that. I think that's, oh, no, it's purple. So select this one. Change it to purple. Okay. That's nice. The last one is yellow to blue from the corner. Yellow to blue. So let me copy this. Select this yellow shape right here. So it's going to be highlighted and paste. So that it's going to be on top of that so that the layers won't get too confusing. So it's yellow to blue in the corner. So let's rotate this maybe 30 degrees right here. Perfect. And then change the color to blue. There. Okay. Next thing we have to do is just mask them. So this layer, let's double click that. So we just need to duplicate this yellow shape right here and drag the icon towards the pixel layer like that. Let's select this one. We need it to be masked to this shape, right? The one below it. So let's duplicate that and then drag the icon towards the dust right there. And here, let's select this. So double click on that. Duplicate this yellow box right here and then drag it to mask the pixel layer. And select this mint dust. And the layer below it, it's this curve, right? The blue curve. Duplicate that. And then drag it there. Okay. We're now done adding the dusts on the last two letters. So let's just do this quickly. Okay, so for this shape, double click this one. Let's add a new pixel layer. And it's going to be green. Okay. So make sure you choose the correct color. And then I think for this one, I used a brush. I think any brush. Let's just use this retrograph brush. Make sure brush tool is selected. And then for this one, I turned on stabilizer so that when I drew the waves, it's going to be smoother. But it's too thin. Let me just increase the size. So either you select this and drag it, or you can use the bracket, open bracket and close bracket to adjust the sizes like that. And then just make some swirly shapes like that. And then duplicate this yellow shape, the background, and then drag it there, like that. Perfect. Now for this dark blue here, it's going to be this zigzag pattern. So it's already selected. The zigzag pattern is going to be green. Okay. Green. So add a new pixel layer. Don't forget that. Since green is already selected, we're not going to change the color, but we're just going to use, I think it's thin zigzag pattern. So select brush, stamp it there. Perfect. And then let's mask this. So let's duplicate this dark blue curve. Duplicate. Drag the icon towards the green pixel layer. None. Okay. So I just switched to move tool by selecting V so that you don't have this box hovering over your design. Okay. Next is this one. So it's just wavy diagonal in orange. So let's select this shape right here. Add a pixel layer, change to orange color, and then select the brush. I think it's this thick wavy pattern. Brush tool and select it like this. Stamp it there. And then switch to move tool. I think for this one, I rotated it. So you could just rotate that a bit like that. Okay. Okay, one thing to note here is if you want to change the colors, feel free to do that. You can do the layer effect like that. And I think you can also choose change the brightness. So under layer, new adjustment layer, brightness and contrast, and then you could just slide it if all you want to change is the brightness. Okay, we're going to mask that. So we're going to select this pink shape right here, which is this curve right here. Duplicate that. and drag it to snap to there. Perfect. Almost done. So this one is just blue, light blue sparkles, and this one is gonna be like curved rays. So let's do this first. Select this, add a new pixel layer, change to the blue color, and draw sparkles, or if you have sparkle or stamp brushes, just stamp them randomly like that. Yeah, I think this is okay. So right click this cyan block to duplicate, and let's mask the pixel layer. Switch back to the move tool, make sure you select this layer, add pixel layer, and it's going to be white rays, right? So to do that, you can draw that manually, or here in the retro lettering brushes, you have spiral rays. So go to your brush, make sure you select white, and there. Okay, so I think this is it. Or did I use heavier spiral rays? Like, or is it bursting spiral rays? No, this heavier spiral rays. Just zoom out. If the size is too big, you can go here to the width, slide it down a bit. Okay, it's now too small, undo. Now the size is more manageable. I'm going to use the bracket to increase the size a little bit. So I think I'm going to stamp it right here. Perfect. And then shift to the move tool and duplicate this curve, and then drag it to mask the pixel layer. There. Oh, we're almost done. Almost there. Okay. So for this one, it's this diagonal effect right there. So it's going to be red. So let's select this layer, create a new pixel layer on top. Okay. And then let's just select another pattern. I think this one's vertical sharp teeth. So go to the brush and select red. Okay, I'll just do something like this, like a shape like that. And move tool, move it down and resize it. Maybe like this. And duplicate this half donut to mask the pixel layer. Perfect. Next, this is white checkered. So this one, select this, add a new pixel layer, and select the brush tool, select white, and look for the checkered. Okay, this is the checkered pattern. There. And then using the move tool, let's just make this a bit smaller. Well, it's up to you if you want to make it smaller or really big. And then just use the keyboard arrow keys to adjust it. And then when you're happy with that, you can now start to mask it by duplicating the base layer and then dragging it there. Two more to go. This one is black polka dot. So let's select this one, add a new pixel layer and small polka dots. Make sure you select black and brush tool is selected like this. Stamp it. And I think I rotated that. So move tool, rotate this by dragging this. I'm holding shift, so it's going to be stuck to 45 degrees. And then just make it smaller like this. We'll position it maybe here. Then let's mask this by duplicating the shape below and then dragging that shape to the pixel layer. Last one, we have this diamond in green, diamond pattern in green. So this one, let's select this shape right here, add a new pixel layer on top of it, select green, a neon green, and then you could draw the pattern or use, I don't know, which geometric pattern is it? No, it's not this one. 7. Oh, it's geometric pattern 5 under the retro lettering. Just stamp it there. Switch to the move tool so that we can resize this maybe here, like that. Maybe make it a bit smaller still. Yeah, here. And then mask it by duplicating this layer and dragging it over the pixel layer. Okay. There we go. We're almost done. Okay. So since the layer panels is always too long, I just want to like close all of the folders or all of the groups so that you get a nice clean layer, organized layers like this. Okay. So next thing is we want to add some texture to the foreground. So let's create a new pixel layer on top. Okay. Switch to maybe light gray or maybe white. And then let's just choose any texture that you want. So select the brush tool. Like, I think this sandy paper texture looks really nice. So make sure you stamp that and cover everything. There. Oops. It's a bit too slow. It's a bit slower because you're filling the entire page. But yeah, there you go. So I'm done with the texture or the background texture. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add these sparkles. Okay. So on the topmost layer, above the pixel layer, add a new pixel layer. And then let's stamp these. So we're going to use this sparkle. We're going to use this sparkle inline 4. Turn brush on and increase the size a bit. So I'm going to add here on the upper right corner of the S and the E as well, and the bottom corner here, and maybe here, like that. Okay. And then want to add the blur effect. So to add the blur effect, simply go to layers, layer effect, and then check Gaussian blur, and then just increase the radius depending on how blurred you want it to be. I think this one looks good. Okay. Oh, this one needs to be moved a little bit. So I'm going to use the rectangular marquee. I'm going to select this and then hold Control to move that while I drag it there. Okay. That's how you adjust this a little bit. So I think this one, I want it to be closer. So I'm going to select this, hold Control down, and drag it maybe here. Zoom out. Perfect. I think this one's okay. So then now I'm going to add a new layer on top and go back to the brushes and select Sparkle Inline 3 and then just increase the size a bit. Yeah, and then stamp the sparkle so that you have a solid sparkle and a glowing sparkle. There. Okay, let's erase this. One last thing. We want to add like black outline. Okay, so it's going to be like rough edges right there. So let's just erase this first. And then let's just lock all of the layers, like the texture layer and the gradient layer. Lock them. And then select all 4 letters. And then we're going to add stroke to it. Okay, so make sure. Oh, but before that, let's go back to designer persona right here. Okay, because we want to add a stroke to it. So we need to go back to designer persona, select brushes. So if you don't have these brushes, the brushes of the designer persona is different from the brushes of the pixel persona. So here on the brushes of the designer persona, I think my favorite is here, dense charcoal. Okay. go to dry media, select dense charcoal for closed curves right here. Okay. And then go to stroke, and we're going to bring this down a bit. I'm using the arrow keys to increase and decrease the size of the stroke. Okay, I think this is okay, about 6. This white outline, we want to make it black. So just open up all of the layers and then just select the shapes. So everything that says curves and rectangle, select that. So I'm selecting the curve and holding the control button so I could select all the shapes. So we're selecting everything except for the pixel layers, okay? So all the curves. So this is just for the R, and then make sure set stroke is highlighted and color it black. Let's see what happens there. Perfect. That's what we want. Okay. Close R and open I. Actually, you could do this one at a time. So select the shapes. For this one is this rectangle. Then just drag it to black. Select this one, drag it to black so that it's not going to be too heavy on your computer. So this rectangle, black. This is pixel. This is rectangle. So color this black. This curve, color it black. Yeah, just color everything, all the curves and shapes black. For the outline, for the stroke, not the fill. There. Last letter, so I'm going to close the S up. And E, this is the first curve right here. So you'll know if you missed a spot, if you can still see the white outline. Let's change these to black. We're almost done. Black, okay. I think we are done. Oh, what happened here? For this curve, okay, make sure you select black. Perfect. So yeah, and there you go. A bright, colorful, fun, pattern-filled rice lettering made in Affinity Designer. Just to summarize everything. So as we created this lettering piece, we have explored the different personas of Affinity Designer, the designer persona, the pixel persona, and the export persona. So export is just for export. If you want to export, just click on export persona, and then it's going to change to a different interface. If you go to export persona, as you can see, the tools have changed. What you can do is you just select here the slices, and then select the preset. If you want to save it PNG, JPEG, GIF, TIFF, and the quality. And after that, click on export slices, and then there you go. You have the file exported. Or you could just go to File and Export. Make it much faster. I only use the export persona if I have multiple artboards and I don't want to export it as one JPEG file or one image file. So that's the only time that I use export persona. So we have explored those 3 personas. We also learned how to draw letters in vector format using the grid, snapping, and the shapes. We also use the joining operations like add and subtract as we build our letters. And then we learned about layers and coloring our layers, outlines, foreground, background color, all of those stuff, as well as the pixel persona where we drew our designs patterns using brushes. And we also touch a little bit on the layer effects such as color overlay and gradient. So I know that this is a lot of information, especially if this is your first time using Affinity Designer. I hope you were able to familiarize yourself with the tools, the functions of this amazing software. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed creating this piece together and learning how to use Affinity Designer. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be glad to answer them for you. Just one more thing before we go, all of the patterns, the textures, the grains, the stamps, everything I got them from the Ultimate Lettering Toolbox Retro and Vintage pack, the Affinity versions, because the Ultimate Lettering Toolbox has the brushes in Procreate, Photoshop, and Affinity. So if you're using any of those software, we've got you covered. So yeah, if you have any questions, again, share it with me, reach out to me. And if you create this project, I would love, love, love to see it. So share it with me, email it with me, message it to me on Instagram. And yeah, thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this session.